Hey guys, welcome back to another online chapel podcast. And I have here with me Taylor Neece, who is the assistant vice president for admissions.
Got it.
Nice. We know each other. We used to be neighbors, actually.
That's right.
But for students that maybe don't know you, give us just like a little background into your life, kind of how you got to CBU, maybe what you were doing before, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Riverside. Went to high school here in town, and I went to college down south in San Diego. Mm-hmm. My sister is a Berkeley grad, and so I applied to all the schools, and I went to the best school I got into. So I went down to a large public institution in San Diego, did about 2.5 years there. My best friend, Daniel Bishop, for all of you that go to the Grove, was always on a sales pitch to get me to come to CBU. So finally convinced me midway through my junior year to transfer to Cal Baptist. And
nice.
So I did 2.5 years here, graduated in my degree in business.
Okay.
During that time, I interned for the government as a civilian contractor for the government. My first job out of college was there. Realized that I like numbers. I can work. I can do the math, do the stats, but it wasn't very fulfilling. So I had some contacts back here at CBU and got hired as an admissions counselor in March of 2008.
Dang.
And then, just kind of over time, kind of right place, right time. I've held a lot of roles here. So I was an undergrad admissions counselor for about 3 years, director of recreational sports for about 3 years, director of grad admissions for about 3 years, dean of admissions for about 3 years, and then I've held my current position for the last several years.
Okay.
And so, it's great. I have 4 kids, a 13-year-old daughter, twin boys that are 11, and my youngest son is 9.
Wow.
The boys are incredibly competitive. I would say very athletic. Maybe others could be the judge, but athletic and really into sports. So I have the privilege of coaching club soccer, travel baseball, Little League baseball. So we spend a lot of time at the ball fields.
Dang.
So our kids keep us busy, heavily involved in our local church as well. And most of our nights are spoken for between church ministry involvement and sports involvement. So,
I was going to say, as someone with 4 kids, it's a very busy existence.
That's right. Absolutely.
Man. Given that you are busy and have a lot of responsibility, you mentioned like the local church, and I know just from knowing you, that's been a huge part of your life, your family's life. And so I wanted to maybe talk a little bit more about that. Kind of what that's looked like for you guys, maybe where you guys call home for church, and how long you've been there, and just kind of what that journey's looked like for you guys.
Yeah, so we go to Stone Harbor Church. I'm on the advisory team there, functionally the board.
Which is in Riverside.
Is here in town, and been there since February 2008. So we started meeting weekly in February 2008. My wife and I showed up. We were renting a space at the time. The second Sunday we existed as a church, and really just felt home. We had been church shopping a bit. I wanted to propose to my girlfriend, and I knew we needed to have a pastor that would marry us, and that we didn't have that. We weren't known in a church body. And so some of my motivation was just trying to get around other Christians and people further ahead of us. And so we, much smaller church at the time, and had the privilege of getting to know a lot of the leaders and have become dear friends of ours. And so I would say over time have just become more and more involved in our church, the ministry, leadership, and then more and more convinced of just the benefit of plugging in at a church. I had grown up in the church, but had never really set super deep roots. And so it was a new experience for me, and it just had pretty quickly experienced the benefits of being in a community that was known. I was growing. I had models of men and women and parents a few steps ahead of me that were people I wanted to be like. And so we ended up setting roots there, and have been there for a while.
Yeah, man. I just, hearing you talk about it, like, that's such an incredible gift, I think, to be able to be at a church, like really since the beginning, since day one. I mean, a lot of us don't really see how churches start. It's like we are looking for a church, we show up and there's a building and there's, lights and speakers and all, and you just feel like it's always been there, But to be with a church, like from the Genesis, essentially, I imagine that's been a really cool journey to kind of grow with the church, but also like probably has brought like a lot of challenges. I mean, thinking that you started there in 2008, you said, so almost 20 years. with kind of the same people,
Yeah.
and people, we're broken and we're, not perfect. And so what challenges have you seen? Like, what are maybe the benefits of kind of growing with the church, but also maybe some of the challenges that have come with that?
Yeah, I think for me specifically, I showed up in 2008 with a pretty full plate of relationships and friends. Went to school with a good group of guys who, you know, dated or got married to girls. And there was this group of probably 5 or 6 couples that were really close, none of which went to church together. And so that was a real challenge for us in the beginning as I showed up there, not lonely, pretty full actually. But over time, either God moved couples out of Southern California, out of state, or into other areas. Some, took ministry jobs at other churches. And so I'd say the first challenge was we had to decide where were we really going to set roots. And not that having friends outside of church is bad, we still do, but really deciding to carve out time in our life to build those relationships. And someone challenged us. They said, to my wife and I, if you guys don't create space in your life for relationships here, you guys are going to feel alone and unknown and eventually robbed because we won't know you guys. We won't know what you're going through. You won't feel close enough to really open up to us, and then we can't help you. And that was probably year 1 or 2 at being at Stone Harbor, and that was really helpful. That's one of the challenges. One of the benefits is now we are known, and we there are men and women that have modeled for us just a life walking very close with God, and then I see the benefit. I see the blessing that God's poured out to them, whether it's how their kids have turned out, job promotions, God has given me opportunity to see some people further ahead of me and just like, man, they not only know the Bible, but they live it out and have just challenged me to walk exactly. And it's been a real benefit for sure.
Dang.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
How has maybe if you can think of some moments in your life where maybe your involvement with this church body, your proximity to this group of believers has helped you navigate decisions, along the way in life. Where has that played in, where the local church has actually helped you kind of figure out, the decisions you're making, maybe for yourself, for your family, for your kids, whatever that's looked like?
Yeah. Now, I'll share a story I think that will frame some of the decisions. Early on in my days at Stone Harbor, there was a lay leader there who owned a window washing company.
Nice.
And, not the most glamorous of companies to own. But he told me something that has still stuck with me. He said, I do this so I can do that. And what he meant by that was, this is not my identity. I own a window washing company and I wash a lot of windows Monday through Friday. But that's not where I'm putting my stock or my identity. I do this so that I can be involved in ministry. I can provide for my family, put a roof over their head, but put food on the table. But also important is it allows me to do the ministry. I'm home in the evenings. I'm available on the weekends, and my primary identity is as a disciple of Jesus, not fill in the blank job.
Yeah, that's good.
And that was really helpful for me. And so that sort of shift in what's my primary identity and what's secondary or even tertiary identities has really guided a lot of decisions. And I would say job opportunities have come up. Many years ago, I would say I was offered the perfect job in the wrong context. And I really had to sort, like, man, this is the dream job. But it would have forced me to move my community. And that was probably the first significant opportunity that I highly, highly evaluated.
Dang.
And what I realized was it's not worth it. Like I feel like God has me at my church with a particular mission, with a particular band of brothers and sisters, and I don't want to leave that. And so, I occasionally will get a call from someone looking, for VP of admissions or whatever, and I just pretty quickly tell them I am not interested in moving. And do I love my job? Yes, but even more importantly is the community that I've built. And so, that's one decision. Jobs, I would say, our involvement in even soccer. My kids have opportunities to play at a higher level, but that costs our availability for ministry. And so they're part of that too, of, hey, we're not going to say yes to this opportunity. because of the impact on our ministry.
Just no to other things.
Yeah. So yeah, those are just some examples.
That's so good. I loved what you said about this idea of, not chasing a job just because it might be alluring, or a better job or whatever, because your community means so much to you. That's such a counter-cultural way to think. I think in today's cultural moment that we're living in, where I think a lot of us, it's just we're so nomadic, especially with you have all these remote jobs and you can live anywhere, with a lot of these. And I think there's a temptation really to not put roots down in places and try to really build that community. And it's just about, hey, chase the bag, if you got a bag, go get it, I don't know. I would say what would be your advice to students that maybe are feeling that, maybe their priority is man, I got to get a job and I got to make money, and where I'm at, I'll kind of figure the rest out later, whereas you started at this church when you were still in college, right?
We had just graduated.
Or you just graduated. Yeah. So you were kind of fresh out of this, 4-year journey, and you kind of planted yourself here and said, this is important and we're going to invest here. I'm just curious, what advice would you give to students that are maybe kind of wrestling with that? Do I find the best paying gig, is that the priority, or do I find the community where I really feel known and loved,
Yeah. I think one of the ways to think about this is just the pecking order of values. So I think many students would say being involved in the community is important. Providing for my family is important. Having friends is important. Enjoying the location is important. But it's a matter of, where do those rank? And I think it's more common to rank higher success as defined by a paycheck and status and title and flexibility and all those things, where for me, and it hasn't been easy, but I've had to sort what's really going to drive the decisions here. What's the first order of operation? And for me, the first order of operation has been, if it forces me to leave my community, then it's a no. What I would say though is, fast forward 40, 50, 60 years, and when you reflect back on your life, what is it you want to be known for? What is going to be, it all comes down to, how do we define success?
Yeah.
And so commonly it's a 6-figure job and a white picket fence and a Labrador retriever living in the perfect neighborhood with 2.5 kids in the sunny Southern California. But for me, and again, this is a battle in my heart. I'm not saying I wake up every morning wanting to choose this, but I have been trying to decide to make decisions that most align with the mission that I think God has for me and my family, which is to know, love, and glorify God and help all people become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. And so if that's your guiding first domino, the first decision you're going to make a lot of different decisions, then, hey, where do I get a bigger paycheck, climb the corporate ladder? And so my philosophy is really, be faithful with little, try to stack up a bunch of good days. Don't try to climb the ladder. And then God has been faithful, I have been able to advance. I have been able to provide for my family. But I didn't set out in 2008 thinking in 2026, I'm going to be the assistant vice president for admissions, It's just this steady, Eugene Peterson wrote a book, A Long Obedience in the Same Direction. And it's that's kind of the concept that I'm trying to model my life after.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, that's such a, it's funny you say that, because it's a common theme with all of our guests, is that, hey, I did not picture this for me, 10, 20 years down the road. It was a slower pace of God just developing and growing in me these values and things that I cherish and want to orient my life around. And it sounds like that's what he's done with you. I get this question a lot from students, so I'm going to ask it. Okay, so I'm a 4-year, college student. I'm maybe a sophomore, kind of in the middle of it, or maybe even a junior or senior, kind of nearing graduation. I'm not from California. I'm here, taking classes, trying to get my degree, and then figure out what I'm going to do. Do I need to be involved in a local church? Is that important? And why?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, for a couple of reasons. One, you don't know what God's going to have for you. I can think of a guy in our church who's from San Diego, probably arrived here with no interest in staying in Riverside, and he's high level leader at our church contributing to the kingdom in a mighty way. Like you don't exactly know how things are going to turn out. That's the practical reason.
Yeah.
One would be it's a really good discipline to figure out how to contribute to a local body, no matter where God has you. So figure out how to serve, how to give, how to contribute, how to partner. Not just consume, but contribute towards a local body. And if that's here in Riverside temporarily, fine. And then wherever you land, maybe it's a little bit more permanent, but you won't regret learning the disciplines of serving and giving and contributing.
That's good.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say that you're no worse off
Yeah.
by being plugged in. And the analogy I use a lot about the sort of college experience is that of a greenhouse. You know, a greenhouse similar to college is it's simulating these like ideal conditions for plant growth. But the goal is eventually that plant can exist outside the greenhouse. And similar to college is it's like these sort of ideal conditions for relationship, spiritual growth, social growth, academic growth. You know, you live in a dorm with 20 other guys, and if you can't meet a friend there, it's going to be harder in the real world, right? And fill in the blank example, but it's like this sort of ideal conditions for relational growth. The reality is that experience is going to go away eventually. You're either going to graduate or for some other reason leave, and you're better if you've set roots and learned how to exist outside of those conditions, right? And so there's a aspect of relating with people outside of the CBU community that's really good. That's going to help you sort of learn those reflexes.
Yeah, that's so good. I think you mentioned this. You talked about rather than being a consumer, trying to contribute, right? And I think that's a really good way of putting it, because I think sometimes we approach when we're church shopping, so to speak, we're looking at, what's in this for me, and it's what church aligns most with what I believe is important, right? Or, what sort of services do they provide me, and I think sometimes that's helpful in figuring out, does a church actually align with what I believe, right? That's important. But it can be very easy to kind of like drift into that kind of consumer mentality. And I think that's where maybe like a lot of people, and this has happened to me too, where it's like you feel like you almost kind of get burned by the church, because the church you find out is made up of imperfect people,
right.
But you go in with the expectation thinking that this is here to serve me, right? When it's very much not the case. So how have you seen that play out just in your experience with the local body, how you guys have been able to grow alongside and with like imperfect people?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of consumers are consuming on a Sunday morning, right? And so I think if you define like your church experience by the sermon and the worship, you're selling it short. And so I think for us, we have learned from our pastor from stage, and we have really grown in a heart of worship, but that's not the main ways that we've grown.
Yeah.
And so this, like, you actually do benefit from contributing. There's a paradigm we talk like from consumer to commando, and there's consumer, co-laborer, contributor, commando. And so I think there's a real opportunity to grow in more ways than just as a consumer. And if it's the what's in it for me, if you stop at what's in it for me, you're going to be sorely disappointed, right? Because you're not going to find the perfect church, you're not going to find the perfect pastor. But if you can flip that, there needs to be alignment. Like there needs to be a good fit.
Yep.
But if it's more than just what's in it for me, then you actually have a lot more grace. There's a wider strike zone for how you can contribute and at the end of the day, glorify God and help move his kingdom forward.
Dang, that's so good.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of really good thoughts. I appreciate you like sitting down with me and letting me pick your brain a little bit, sharing your story. I hope you guys have benefited from this. If you have not found a local church or haven't really thought about it, I hope like just hearing from Taylor has been a really helpful invitation to maybe start that process. And if you guys are wondering about churches in the area, Spiritual Life, like we have a directory of churches that we can point you to. A lot of really great churches, Stone Arbor being one of them.
That's right.
I would love for you to explore that journey. God wants you to be in a local church in community. Taylor, man, thanks again so much for sitting down. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys next time.
Thanks.